Good afternoon, or rather, it's still morning, but good morning. Happy to meet you in person. The buzz outside was amazing. Missed that. I think Zoom calls and virtual interactions can never replicate the energy that we feel when we meet. Uh, Venkat has laid the foundation, and we've seen some amazing innovative work that the other divisions have shared with you. Let me quickly walk you through what the jewelry game plan is. I'll try and cover the industry opportunity as well as our growth engines and our sources of competitive advantage, and leave you behind with some kind of a short-term margin outlook. The last 2 years has seen significant disruption, and despite that, very happy to share that our business has proven to be very resilient. Of course, thanks to the wonderful work done by the entire team. We have an ecosystem of 25,000 people, if you consider the karigars who work for us, as well as the frontline staff who braved COVID and kind of, lived up to the gold standard safety that we all aimed for. And that has really shown up. While we have shown you only 4 years here, but the 5-year CAGR for this business has been 18%. We stand on the shoulders of giants. The kind of work that has gone in creating iconic brands, and especially Tanishq, is what actually we are seeing the benefit that is being reaped. EBIT, of course, has been even better, and margins have been by and large stable, barring the COVID year that you see. The market is seeing a shift. The India story is still strong. I mean, if you look at it from a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year horizon, or even a 20-year horizon, I think the India story is rock solid. So that is the firm conviction from where we come from. There is volatility, significant volatility that we are seeing, be it in consumer sentiment, be it on macro factors, be it on gold prices and diamond prices. For example, diamond prices over the last 6 months have jumped around 30-35%. Actually, the range is much wider depending on the type of diamonds, from 20% to 40% plus. And this is something that we have figured out how to cope. Disruptions and inflation-led issues are things which we as a business and we as a team have now learned how to cope. In fact, the last 2 years have been great training ground. I like to quote this example that what started off as a war room meeting, initially safety-led war room meetings, and then thereafter how to get back to business war room meetings across a wide collaborative range of people at the middle management and senior management in the division. It's now become a way of life. I think Arun here leads that activity, and we see now over the last 2.5 years or almost 3 years, we are seeing this activity go on, and it's become an operating rhythm. And therefore, growth opportunities do come and will keep coming. But along with it, just like the tide, there's a high tide and there's a low tide. Something comes in, something goes back. And we have figured out when things are coming in, how do you pull? And then when things are going back, how do you hold? And that's the muscle that we've learned, and therefore maximizing, preparing for growth while managing the volatility has become our mantra. And somebody asked me, how come we grew amazing growth that we saw in Q3? I said, if I sit back and look at it, I don't know. There were customers in the market who came, but what did we do? We prepared for that growth. That's all we did. And thereafter, magic happened. If we were not prepared, we wouldn't have grown. As they say, I think Nadal or Djokovic, you can never win the balls you don't take. So we have to be prepared to take those balls, and hopefully we'll win most of the time. There is formalization. I think the tailwinds of formalization are pretty much there. It's been there for the last few years. It's probably become intensified thanks to the disruptive behavior of how markets have been. And I think post hallmarking and post so many other moves that the government is constantly doing, there is clearly a wave in favor of organized players. And the organized players are indeed pushing strong. I think every player is planning for big expansion. Every player is competing intensively for customers. And even the family jewelers and the standalone jewelers are holding very tight onto their customers. So what we are seeing as an outcome of all this is intense competitive intensity and price wars on gold price and making charges and everything else. So for us, the most important thing is to invest in differentiation. There will be competitive intensity. We have to be prepared for that. And we have to invest in differentiation. We have to lead the customer. We have to lead the industry. The customer, in the last 2 years, I think a lot has happened to everybody's minds. You know, all of us have changed in ways that we don't imagine. And the customer has also, in a way, adapted to this. Living for today and seeking authenticity and trusted players, we have seen that happen. That is why we are seeing new buyer growth, leading the total buyer growth for us. We have, in the last quarter, I think we saw 51 to 52% contribution from new buyers, which used to be in the mid 40s, if you go back 2 years ago. We are also seeing people seek not just progressiveness, but they are also seeking pride in culture. She wants to participate in what is her cultural heritage and wants to learn more and be educated more, and in a way be a partaker of that culture as opposed to something which is a hand-me-down. And her journey is more important than in general what's going on. I think everybody wants to express themselves. Suparna talked about it in terms of self-expressiveness. And I think we're seeing that if it's the millennial bride, she wants to express herself in unique ways, at the same time craft out her own journey, which is in sync with the pride in the culture that she has inherited. And in effect, that plays greatly to our strengths. In fact, we as a brand have prided ourselves in the imaginative and progressive brand narrative that we have laid out. And more importantly, we are also engaging with her directly, not just through our digital channels, but also through our stores. And you will see a little bit of that. I don't know how many of you, if I may ask you, how many of you all have seen this?
Let's see.
Can you just put a pause?
6.
Yeah? How many? Okay, only so many. I thought it's gone viral, and I was told that more than 7 million people have seen it and it's being forwarded. But since so many of you have not seen it, can we have it on, please? This is the brand narrative that I would like to talk about.
At Texco International, great company, Radhika, and 14 months at Life Bootcamp Corp. Never heard of that one.
That it just landed on my lap. Overnight, I had to fill in the position of a leader.
Tell me more.
Well, I had to train a complete newbie. Mushkil tha. Sometimes you just learn on the job.
So, what was that learning?
Following my instincts. Seniors naturally advice dete the. Try this, do that. सुनती थी, पर खुद के decisions को trust करना सीखा.
Then why just 14 months?
अब मेरी team independently manage कर रही है. So I'm ready for this. ऐसे भी वहाँ से I'll never really go off duty.
Sorry, I'm a little confused.
That's my teammate and my little trainee.
14 months at Life Bootcamp Corp. Now I get it. Radhika, you don't quite fit this position. Given your experience, you're ready for something bigger. With us. We'd love to talk more.
I think many customers have written to us, but one poignant comment was, I think these guys get get us. Tanish gets what the woman actually feels. I think that's the biggest badge of honor that we can all wear as brand makers. But I think the larger piece here is that the narrative that the brand takes has to keep moving the envelope ahead, even while we fight the other battles and the other exciting things that we've taken on. And this brand narrative, as Venkat rightly pointed out, comes from where? It comes from minds who work in the organization with our partners. This film was, in a way, an outcome of the effort of two young people in our team who work very closely with a digital marketing agency. And they took the call. I got this ad only later on in the afternoon. They said, this is already gone on air. I'm sure you like it, And that's the way things operate. There is huge headroom, no question. Our internal estimates talk about a 400,000 crore market, but many of you have better estimates. Whichever way you look at it, whether it is 5%, 6%, or 7%, the headroom is big. Clearly, there are segments where we have a lot more headroom, whether it is weddings or solitaires or high value studded on the one hand, or regional markets. Our dispersion can vary from 2% to 10% market share across the entire geography. Middle India is booming. In fact, Venkat laid out the foundation beautifully, showing you the kinds of places where action is there, and 300 plus towns are exciting places for us to be in. We are there in 220 towns right now. And even within existing towns, there are emerging catchments. There are zip codes that are showing up great opportunity. There is a very strong emergence of a young, modern segment where perhaps it's more of a blue ocean strategy and less of a red ocean strategy, to borrow Shaman's words. But the opportunities are huge. And the implications for us are very clear. In the background of competitive intensity and large players having aggressive plans, as well as this huge opportunity, the best thing to do is just target a huge ambition, and then go after it with all guns blazing and chase multiple segments. We don't want to leave any segment opportunity because it's simply ours to lose. So the ambition for jewelry, some of you would have already seen it. I saw it in the CNBC and Profit channel, which was playing in the restroom of this. They had already done the math and people had put some figures out there. Pretty much following with the previous ambition of 2.5x, which, by the way, this year is the 5th year of that previous ambition. And as somebody said, you guys are likely to be at 2.25 or something. I said, picture abhi baki hai. We have still another 10 months to go. So we'll see where we end. But from where we ended last year to where we want to go, I think the opportunity is huge. We don't have a very exact figure on stores, and many of you keep asking that. But we've taken a punt. We are still in the process of building our strategic plan. The direction is clear. So we see an opportunity for 600, and this includes stores of Mia, Zoya, and Tanish. We have not indicated here the stores of Carrot Lane, which Mithun shall present thereafter some flavor to you as to how he's looking at Carrot Lane, but the opportunity is large. Most of the growth engines are expected to fire well. The way to read this is the green is what will lead the growth. The yellow or the amber is the one where we think it will be as per the overall growth, and the orange or the red will be the one which will be perhaps lagging. So we have seen some laggards in the last 2 years, and we have seen some greens as well. In fact, digital, which is not just omni and online, including remote, which is video calling and endless aisle, etc., has really jumped. Last year, we ended this particular engine at about 12% contribution to the overall sale, which is around 2,800, 2,900 crores, and which included about 1,100 crores of online plus omni. And if I just pick that segment of online plus omni, it was 125, went to 500, ended at 1,100 last year, and we are targeting 2,000 plus. So the headroom there is fantastic, and between what Tanishq is doing and what Carrot Lane is doing, we can be the dominant player. And if I quote one of our independent directors on the Carrot Lane board, he says, why can't you guys be 100% owner of whichever segment that you choose to chase. And I think we really have that opportunity sitting here. But yes, many Indias and grow the core are very big areas. Why I have highlighted those is because grow the core was about getting your funnel right. If we don't have adequate new customers coming in, 3 years later only they will become a 2 lakh plus buyer. And that is something which was a little worrying for us when I had just gotten in that particular year, FY20 was a particularly bad year from a volume perspective. But thanks to the focus, we have got back to a 43% contribution on core. High value studded and solitaires continues to be a huge opportunity. The PAN card comes out much more easily now. I don't think people are hesitant. It is show me, excite me, delight me, and the PAN card comes out. I think that's the big news here, which was earlier a little bit of a defensive situation for us. Wedding, as well as many Indias, is a huge opportunity for the regionalization play. And let me bring it alive in many ways. But all I can say is that we are expecting all the engines to fire, and you shall see a lot of action on each of them. The many India's opportunity, which was earlier termed as low market share strategy, hero market strategy, which we then exploded, especially during COVID times. We realized the opportunity to play different games at the same point in time, because of the different ways in which markets were behaving, brought it alive even more. And we had a strategic investment in the South markets, where our market share in Tamil Nadu was less than 2%. And Sigaram was the internal project name, and pardon me for the Tamilians here if I have pronounced it wrongly, but Sigaram has been a great success. It has been a 360-degree approach on product, policy, retail, and the deep customer connect that you're seeing.
வலிமை, அன்பு, அழகு, அறிவு, இவை எல்லாம் நாமே. தமிழகத்தின் புதுமை பெண் நாமே. பாரம்பரியம் ஒரு பக்கம், புதுமை மறுபக்கம். பிறர்க்காகவும் வாழ்வோம், கொஞ்சம் தனக்காகவும் வாழ்வோம். சிரிக்க வைக்கும் தோழியும் நாமே, சிந்திக்க வைக்கும் பெண்மணியும் நாமே. கலைகளோ காயங்களோ நாம் பெருமையாக அணிவோம். சில நேரம் அன்பான தாய், சில நேரம் ஆர்வமுள்ள குழந்தை. முறைகளும் நாமே, மாற்றங்களும் நாமே. இதுதான் நம் அடையாளம், இந்த மண்ணின் புதுமை பெண்களின் அடையாளம். தமிழகத்தை பெருமையுடன் ஜொலிக்க வைக்கும் புதுமை பெண்களுக்காக Tanishq.
Pudumai Pen is about gatekeepers of tradition and catalysts of change. And I think weaving that customer insight, the customer truth of today, with the brand narrative and the brand truth is what the magic that has been created. And that again requires that level of depth of engagement and seeing how it connects back. But we have not just done this in Tamil Nadu. I mean, Tamil Nadu, by the way, we are amongst the fastest growing brands and gaining share. Sure, we have a huge headroom there. We still, I think the biggest player there is perhaps 7 or 8 times our size. So you can see the headroom that is sitting there. But we have also done this in what we call as Bharat markets. This is an example of what happened in Patna actually, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later. The Riva Brides of Patna was a fabulous engagement on the ground with huge number of real women who have then become our brand ambassadors. We are doing a lot of work in most of these Bharat markets, and they are segmented, but yet we have to weave the brand narrative in such a manner that it stands for the same Tanishq. Recently, we did for Poila Boishakh, it's a Poila Boishakh collection, sorry for the missed word there, called Uttama. Now, this collection, what was unique about this, we do this every year under the Sonar Bangla initiative. What was unique is we actually had, I think, about 8,000 customers who voted and helped us co-create the collection. So we had a much larger offering. And based on what these 8,000 people said, what they loved about this collection, that was the final curated version that went out there. And that, of course, was accompanied by a campaign and in Bengali and everything else. So all of that is something which is happening live as we speak, engaging with the customer. And these were some of the products that came, and it has done fabulously well this Poila Boishakh, which was around the 14th of April. We will maximize growth and we will pursue multiple segments. We have Riva and Mia as our sub-brands, and we have Zoya and Carrot Lane as independent brands, but from the same stable. On Riva, the community-based approach is huge, and that will continue. In fact, I think we have barely scratched the surface. I think we are catering to about 20 plus communities right now, but the depth with which we can go into on the trousseau and on the imagery and on the cataloging and the content that we can provide to win over the millennial customer so that she can go back to her parents and say, you know what, let's first go to Tanishq. If you guys are not happy with that, then we'll go to the traditional jeweler. And that's the message that we want to give to this bride. And not just for our regional brides, but also for the metro, where there is Polki and there is diamond play. I think both these opportunities, these two are more profitable than the regionalization play. But having said that, wedding play in general is much more profitable for us in terms of making charges, etc., compared to the average, let's say, core products that we might be selling. For Mia, the young and restless, as I would like to call that team, is the fastest growing brand. It has hit close to 300 crores. Their pre-wave 2 budget was around 240. They said, forget all that. Irrespective of what happened in quarter one, we'll go for 300. They got within kissing distance of that. March and Jan were a little bit of a dampener. But having said that, the team has said we want to hit 2,000 crores in the next 3 years. In fact, they have said we want to do much more. I've brought a slightly more conservative figure on this forum. And the number of points of sale, while it's growing all the time, but this includes Mia stores as well as the Tanishq stores and some online play. I think that's expected to double in the next 3 years. Clearly, this brand is about fashion, style, and self-expression, but it is also looking at going green in a big way, which is to say 100%. It is already using 100% recycled gold and actively exploring along with our manufacturing team how to get 100% recycled diamonds as well, because we get a lot of exchange gold back and diamonds coming back into our system. A quick look at what this latest collection which was offered.
Mia by Tanishq presents Wave Makers, bringing all the beach vibes to you, right here, right now. So trendsetters, presenting to you the best of Mia this summer. Wave Makers.
So this was recently launched in Mumbai at Soho. I didn't know much about Soho until Mithun took me there for a meal. And that is supposed to be the creative space, I think, where a lot of creative people come there. And this was a PR launch with all the media influencers. In fact, there's a lot of work that Mia has been doing with influencers, and these are just a few representations, but they have literally reached out to, I think, 25, 30 different influencers, some of them with 20 million plus followers, who have, in a way, set Mia ablaze on the digital world. And this is a brand which is really about the young and restless and the self-expressive modern woman of today. Zoya, it is one of the most exciting Indian luxury brands. We have heard of Western luxury, but Indian luxury is something that we are really, really proud of. The pillars, of course, are about craftsmanship, about rare stones and patented cuts. The product stories are really deep design. For some of you who have seen it, if not, please go on to our Insta pages and you'll get a sense of it. And personalized experiences. It is a bespoke brand. It is about customizing. We talk in terms of number of customers that we serve. You know, is it 3,000 customers? Is it 4,000 customers? And in fact, the team has said the crores will follow. We will chase 4x or 5x. And why is it that we are going to chase that kind of number? Because luxury is expected to explode in India. And a previous report talked about 300,000 HNIs and growing at a very rapid pace. And the ultra HNIs are growing at even more rapid pace. And that segment is clearly unaffected by whatever happens on volatility. The only thing that affects them is which holiday destination I'll go to this summer, or, you know, why can't I go here? And the base will certainly go 4x in 3 years. And the number of boutiques, we now have Zoya galleries in some of our Tanishq stores. We have 6 of them, and we are expecting boutiques and galleries to grow over a period of the next 3 years into this footprint. It won't be a very large footprint like what luxury brands are all about exquisiteness, but we do a lot of trunk shows as well. This is an image of our Gurgaon store, the 5th, which is there. And there is one coming up in the Taj Kolaba, next to the LV store, I think. So in a few months, it should be ready and you can all visit that place. This was a collection that we launched, Eterna. You've been probably seeing the Zoya collections because they've taken front page of Bombay Times and Bangalore Times and many places. So I won't, but the stories are deep and this one is really doing very well. This is the last collection that was launched. The personalized Zoya experiences is something that we are proud of. I think last year we did 300 or such personalized experiences. We also participate in many interesting events that happen across the country, which involve culture, which involve a very special audience, and we are always there where it's required. Let me quickly talk about not just the growth engines, but what is it that helps us differentiate ourselves vis-a-vis the rest of the market. Clearly, the brand narrative is something that you have seen. I'm going to take you through a little bit more about that. Our category and product leadership, which is the foundation is in design, but the manifestation is in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of manufacturing and sourcing excellence, which is about transforming the value chain as well. And of course, our customer intimacy, which we are extremely proud of, where every customer is one person at a time, one transaction at a time. This was something which we have now taken up. I remember Venkat coming back from a customer meet saying, customers are saying, why do you need brand ambassadors when we are your biggest ambassadors? We've taken that to heart. And in fact, the latest campaign on diamonds, which was around the activation, which was typically around 20% off, we said, can we convert it into a brand building opportunity? And the marketing team has come out with this Hira Hotum, every woman a diamond. I think the customer truth and the category truth and the brand truth coming together beautifully together. And these were real women who, you know, I think would have put to shame some models, and they have done a fabulous job in the shoot. And they are all real women, and the kind of narrative we have seen on social media on these is amazing.
कह रहा है कुछ ये हीरा, जरा उसकी सुनो तुम, थी इनमें से एक कंकड़ जैसी, अब हर फलक में तारे समेटे हो तुम, थी सहमी सी छिपी हुई सी, अब देखो ना आज कितना हासिल कर चुकी हो तुम। कह रहा है कुछ तुम्हारा हीरा, जरा उसकी सुनो तुम, मैं तुमसा हूं ये बोले और कुछ मुझसे हो तुम, हीरा हो तुम।
So it's about self-expression, it's about her journey, her story, but it's also in the context in which It is not me alone, it's me in the context of we. And that is the Tanish woman. And that's the narrative that only we can own. Building leadership in product and category. Some examples here. Last year we did a lot of work, but this is something which we are very, very proud of. Finally, with all that narrative, with all the wonderful experiences in the store, the customer is coming to buy a product in which she is delighted and the emotion has to be true. Bhaskar used to keep telling us, all this is great here. Finally, show me where is your category going? Where is the product quality? Where is the craftsmanship? Where is the design story? And where is the rarity of the gems and whatever else that you're proposing? I think our design team has done a fabulous job. This is about Romance of Polki, which we've just launched in the last few months. Yeah. So Polki was a category which we actually created excitement in with Jodha Akbar a few years back. And I was surprised when I visited Jaipur that we are an insignificant small player in perhaps a 5,000 or 10,000 crore category. So the single line, direction that we took was, can we just do 10x of what we are doing? And then maybe the next year we look at doing, 5x or 3x or whatever. And I think this Polki has really set the stage on fire. We've hardly been able to supply to the top 3 towns or top 4 towns maybe. And the sell-throughs are amazing. And I think it's a great opportunity for us. Door, this actually came out as a capsule collection, which was supposed to be something for the modern customer. The design team does this without any brief. And they took on Mangal Sutras and said, can we contemporize it? And from that came out Door. And Door has now become a platform. In fact, the marketing team loved it so much that it's now become almost like a sub-cluster within our system. And Mangal Sutras are big in Maharashtra. And to bring an innovation in that and to bring excitement in that, that is something which is unique to us. And this collection, you will see now in every Tanish store, will be a platform for Mangal Sutras, and more excitement will keep coming here. There are many such other things. There is stuff happening in gents, there is stuff happening in faith and belief, there's stuff happening in children. I'm not taking you through all of that. All segments are up for grabs. The opportunity is mind-blowingly huge. We have a huge headroom. This is something that we are currently doing. Last year, we did something around earrings. And we said a earring is not just a earring. There are at least 20 different categories. And can we provide a depth and width of 1,000 SKUs during a particular period? And that's a fantastic response. So this year, the team has said, let's do it with bangles. And Kalai is the campaign which we have launched during Akshaya Tritiya. And this will continue right through the first quarter where weddings are big. Even bangles, there are at least 15, 20 different categories, not just machine made and handmade. And then, of course, if you take a regional split, it goes all the way. Coming to our third important differentiator or source of competitive advantage is the customer intimacy. Venkat talked a lot about the culture, and you will see a lot of that flowing into the way in which we interact with customers. But there is a process, there's a science. We have been following the Net Promoter Score as a metric for the last now about 2 years. We started off at 60s or something like that. And over the last 1 year, you can see these are benchmarks across the world. 88% Net Promoter Score is mind-blowing. And this comes on the back of a response rate of 30 to 40% of people. That means the number of people who are giving a response from the number of buyers who came to our store is 30 to 40%. So it's a large sample size. And in order to ensure that this is driven strongly in the core, the team also looks at below 1 lakh, below 50,000. And today we are no longer worried about the score. We are saying what's the next best action that a given store can do. And we are tracking how many stores have a clear next best action in their respective. And the store is empowered to take those actions. But it's also a lot about culture. This is our Women's Day celebration across stores. Every occasion, whether it is festival or it is a Women's Day or it is Mother's Day or it is World Environment Day, I think stores take it up. There are some amazing actions which have happened. Indore, for example, does a massive event every year around Karwa Chauth. and we talked about brides of India. So what started off in Patna, in fact, it won an innovation award in our internal awards that we do just 2 days back. It was so good that it has now been taken across to 12 cities. So we did ramp shows across 12 different cities with real brides. Now, these are brides to be recent brides or brides of 20 years ago. There were 8,000 women across 12 different cities who participated. And what's the payoff for them? Not just their love for Tanishq or that they get to wear jewelry and to adorn the ramp, but 10 of them in each city were to be selected by a jury who in turn then, based on that, we would do a shoot with them finally, and they would get featured in the outdoor and promotions and digital marketing in that particular city. And these are some of those real brides who have actually gone through that shoot, and you shall see them in your respective cities wherever they are. This is something which requires a whole ecosystem and a culture of customer centricity, which I think our retail team has brought to the table and at scale. We are at 390 stores, and every store gets inspired by some of this, and the best practices are, shared. Finally, coming to the very important backbone, which actually supporting all this, the manufacturing and sourcing and supply chain. It's an incredibly complex system. I think last year we processed 35 tons of gold and several millions of diamond pieces. And doing it responsibly, however, is the big challenge. These are our plants in Hosur and Pantnagar. I'll walk you through some parts of it. You all have not visited. You're invited to visit our factory. We do that with our customers. During COVID, it was a big break, but very happy to welcome you to visit our factories and actually walk you through what happens. But for those of you who are still waiting to come there, these are some glimpses. This is how a jewelry plant looks like. It doesn't feel like a jewelry plant anywhere in the world. It looks like an automated machine shop. And this is at Hosur. This is German technology at its best. We can see the kind of CNC fingerings. These can process a finger in half an hour from start to finish. It's one piece at a time. It can customize. So the capability that we have got at the back end is amazing. We are limited by the imagination that we can do and the scale at which we can do this on the front end. Platinum is something which we are building in a big way. We see it as a huge opportunity, especially since price of gold has really shot beyond, and platinum is growing at a rapid pace. In Pantnagar plant, we are building a huge platinum capability and capacity. We are a very responsible player. We've been doing this for a few years, but we thought it's important to bring it alive. LBMA gold is what we are sourcing. LBMA gold has 2-3 qualities. It's both the quality, reliability, as well as the ethical sourcing it has. Today, LBMA gold is the most ethically sourced gold, but I'm also told that there are good refineries in Dubai, Etihad and Emirates refineries, which are giving a strong competition to the Swiss refineries. And there is an emerging hub there. We have also signed an FTA, etc. So we will be open to sourcing from the most reputed refineries the gold that comes. Of course, it will be via banks. About 45% is fresh bullion, which a lot of the times you see 45-50% gold on lease, which you'll see. That is all fresh bullion that comes in. The customer exchange gold is about 40%, which is GEP and TEP, Tanishq exchange and customer exchange gold. And then there is outright sourcing with some of our vendor partners. We do supply gold to a lot of our outwork vendor partners, but we also, buy jewelry from some partners who make to our designs, and that part of the gold is about 15%. So we audit, we ensure that this gold is being used, and that's something which is very important. But we've also taken a big step in diamond supplies. And let me tell you, big diamonds are easier yet because the rough and the big diamond connectivity and traceability is straight. Big diamond tears manage it in very large, organized factories in Surat. But when it comes to the smalls, and that is more than 60% of our requirement, they get job worked and manufactured in all kinds of subcontract vendor places across Saurashtra, Gujarat, and ensuring that we have end-to-end traceability there. And we are ensuring that There is a pipeline integrity, that there is no contamination with lab grown, so that's a separate business, those who want to pursue. But for natural diamonds, it is screened, and that the polishing is happening in a TSCP compliant unit, which is a Titan supplier engagement protocol for diamond suppliers. We are learning, we are again pioneering our way here. A lot of resistance from the diamond tears and from the jewelry manufacturers. But this is something that we have taken it up very, very seriously to ensure that everything that is done in the right manner. We have a third-party audit, which has a 70-point checklist to ensure that every subcontract vendor is compliant on labor practices, on all the practices. In fact, I'm coming to that. Indian jewelry used to get made, and in fact, it still gets made like this in the bulk of the manufacturing. Okay, absolutely obsolete processes. It's cottage industry, it's child labor, it's karigars at the age of 42, 43 tend to take retirement and go back to their respective villages to pursue agriculture or whatever, because the pollution and the way of working has not left them fit to continue what they're doing. Venkat showed you something about the way karigars are done, but we've taken it quite systematically in the last few years. We've looked at a 4P framework, which is from people, process, place, and planet, and then categorized all our jewelry manufacturers and vendors into level 0 to level 3. And it is our commitment. COVID actually pushed us back by about 9 months. We had earlier planned March 22, but the team is saying, COVID or no COVID, let's say by December of this year, all our suppliers will be falling into the standard mode. And some, of course, maybe in the world-class mode as well. And this is a huge effort requiring major change management, not just with our vendor partners who have to invest money, but also with karigars, who in turn have to adopt newer practices, ergonomic. They're used to sitting and working. They don't realize it's bad for them. They need to sit. They need to use a microscope for setting. It's a completely big journey. And we have about 15,000 karigars whom we need to transform in our ecosystem. There is a code of practices for vendor partners on this. As I said, there's a third-party audit and there's a 71-point checklist, and it's a journey. So this has been going on for the last 2.5 years, and it will continue for the next 9 months, and then thereafter audits right through. And there are clear milestones and targets which get reviewed at the CEO level and also at the MD level. These are some illustrations of what you saw, how those kind of units have transformed themselves across. This is across the place. I've given you an example of Kolkata and Thrissur, but this has happened in Bombay, in Jaipur, in Gujarat, in Coimbatore. Wherever we have gone, we have insisted. In fact, vendors used to tell me, vendor partners, sir, this is the Tanishq area. These are the Tanishq karigars. They are used to a certain quality, world's best quality, and whatever else that you guys do. And then this is the rest of it. Even those who are organized players, because they had earmarked the way in which Tanishq wants to work. Our quality assessors were there, our quality checks were there, and they are all taken through the entire process of training and capability development. So the strategic thrust, I'm come to the end of my piece. We have shared about 4 important competitive advantages, which are very often not visible. So we try to bring it alive for you, but you're most welcome to visit us and we can take you more through that. But as we look forward, we see growth as the biggest opportunity. We see a huge headroom. And, more than the EBIT margins and percentages, etc., or even studded ratios, etc., that many of you are used to modeling in your Excel sheets, I think it's very important to look at the absolute crores of top line, absolute crores of gross margin, and the absolute crores of EBIT. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that ratio is an outcome. There are 2 different businesses sitting. There is a gold business, there is a studded business. Sometime the gold buyer may buy diamond, but by and large, at that point in time, they are pretty much fixed on what they want. And therefore, one should not limit the other. If gold coin sells at some 6-7% making charge or 8% making charge, why should it bother us? They're going to come back and buy gold, exchange that gold coins in Tanishq. So why should we limit gold coin sale and try and show a higher studded ratio? So we said, let's liberate this business. Let each part of it pursue aggressive growth. If regionalization is going to mean a certain dilution in the percentage, but an absolute growth in number of customers and the number and the market share, then the operating leverage will kick in, and that's what will give us. But at the same time, we realize that these are challenging times. Competitive intensity is very high, volatility is very high. Gold prices and diamond prices are yo-yoing. Customer sentiment is fragile, at least in certain markets and for a certain period of time. But we will be prepared for growth and we will invest for growth. And therefore, between operating leverage and invest for growth and the other 4 factors, we think we can manage the EBIT margins. And at least in the next 1 or 2 years, we think EBIT margins should remain stable. Don't expect them to jump because we want to invest for growth. But operating leverage will help us tide over some of the pluses and minuses that happen. Beyond that, of course, we have not done the strategic plan and we have not even discussed it in the board. So we will do that, and maybe at some point, if we can share it, we will. Thank you. You guys have been very patient to hear a very long presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.